He used me for his reputation. Then I showed up on the red carpet. Pregnant. Part 2. Chapter 9. The caption that broke the internet. Mira had never planned to return to Instagram. It felt like enemy territory, a battleground built from curated lies and image manipulation, the exact machine that had consumed her and spit her out like a bad filter. After Jackson ghosted her, she deleted everything. No photos. No stories. No trace of the woman who had smiled beside him in sponsored posts and red carpets, unaware of the noose tightening around her neck. But now the world had already seen her. On the Noi runway. In headlines. On TikTok compilations with bold text over her face, she disappeared. Now she's owning everything they tried to take. The algorithms were hungry for her. But this time, she would feed them on her terms. She waited until 7 p.m. Paris time, just as LA was waking up, New York was finishing lunch, and her former publicist, Roxanne Black, was likely sipping an overpriced turmeric latte thinking the Mira Lane problem had resolved itself. She hadn't warned anyone. Not her agent. Not Celeste. Not Genevieve. Not even her best friend, Zadie, who had just texted, "Are you okay? Are you coming back? Are you famous now?" Mira sat on the terrace of the Noi loft, wrapped in a silk robe, hair wind-swept, belly prominent beneath the fabric. The evening air was cool and electric. Below, the Paris skyline gleamed like a chandelier strung between centuries. She took a deep breath, exhaled, and clicked open the app. Her profile was bare. 0 posts. 0 tagged photos. But over 180,000 followers, residual curiosity from the fashion show, the live stream, the mystery. Hungry eyes waiting. She uploaded the photo. Simple. Devastating. Taken in the dressing room the night of the Noi show. Her standing in profile before a mirror, dressed in the sheer black lace gown. Hand on her belly. Chin lifted. Expression unreadable, but undeniably commanding. No makeup. No filters. No distractions. Just her. And the caption. He broke the contract. I broke the internet. She pressed post. And the world detonated. Within 5 minutes. 3,812 comments. 27,000 likes. Her name trending at #4 globally on Twitter. Within 10. Vogue reposted it. Vanity Fair declared it the comeback post of the decade. TMZ's headline, "Is Jackson Vane about to be a father?" Celebrities started chiming in. At Lupus, Grammy-winning rapper The Audacity of Men. Respect to this queen. At Srafinamoda, supermodel This is art. This is war. This is the moment. At Real Live fan page, wait, is this about Jackson? At Just Errand and Stylist, and to think they called her unstable. I call it unforgettable. Back in LA, chaos erupted inside the PR boardroom at Vault headquarters. Roxanne Black threw her phone across the room. "This wasn't supposed to happen," she hissed, pacing in stilettos that clicked like gunfire. She signed an NDA. She disappeared. She was over. Now she gestured furiously to the giant screen on the wall displaying the post, now past 500,000 likes. "Now she's more famous than Ivy," one assistant mumbled. "What did you say?" "Nothing." Jackson Vane was on set in Croatia when it reached him. His assistant, red-faced and visibly sweating, approached with a phone. "Hey, you're trending. He took the phone. Stared at the image. His ex. Pregnant. Radiant. Powerful. His baby. His breath caught. His jaw clenched. And then, he smiled. But not with joy. It was the smile of a man who knew he had lost control of the narrative. For the first time in his career, he wasn't playing the lead anymore. Mira Lane wasn't crying in a bathtub. She wasn't begging for closure. She wasn't slinking away into the shadows of the girl before the girl. She was visible. Fierce. Viral. And the world wasn't asking what happened to her anymore. They were asking, what will she do next? Chapter 10 Damage Control. The sound of glass shattering inside the vault penthouse boardroom did nothing to stop the screaming. Fire whoever let this happen. Roxanne Black shrieked, her French-tipped fingers clenching the edges of the glass conference table as if she could snap it in two. Her usual poise, ice blonde bun, navy power suit, voice like a razor dipped in honey, had cracked. The post had dropped only 12 hours earlier. And now, Mira Lane, the disposable decoy, the silent stylist, the no-name prop, was the most talked about woman on the planet. She wasn't just viral. She was iconic. The black lace. The belly. The caption. He broke the contract. I broke the internet. It was surgical. Dagger-like. A PR bloodbath. And worst of all, Jackson hadn't known. He was in Croatia, filming a motorcycle chase scene for Vault Legacy, the franchise reboot meant to rebrand him as a sleek, conflicted anti-hero. He had just wrapped his second take when his assistant, Landon, approached with trembling fingers and a look of pure terror. Landon held up the phone like it was a live grenade. "It's her," he whispered. Jackson took one glance, froze mid-step. There she was. Mira. Pregnant. Beautiful. Untouchable. The caption hit him like a slap. His mouth opened. Then shut. Then opened again. "She's pregnant," he said hoarsely. Landon nodded slowly. "Apparently, yeah. The internet thinks it's yours." Jackson's face went white. "Is it mine?" Landon asked carefully. Jackson stared at the photo again, Mira's profile glowing in that sheer black lace. Her hand resting on her belly like it was a shield. Or a weapon. He remembered Tahu. The storm. The warmth of her body against his. The look in her eyes when she had whispered, "Are you sure this is just pretend?" And he had lied. To her. To himself. He rubbed a hand over his face. "She never told me." Back in LA, Roxanne's team was in full spin mode. Emails to tabloids. Legal threats. Emergency media memos. A 10-person Zoom call with the Vault board. They tried everything. Deny the pregnancy was his. Frame it as coincidental timing. Lean into the she was unstable angle. Float the idea of deepfake imagery. But none of it stuck. Not anymore. Because Mira had something they couldn't manufacture: public sympathy. Women were rallying behind her in droves. Fashion outlets declared her Noi campaign the single most defiant moment in fashion history. Celebrities reposted her caption like scripture. Feminist publications called her a modern Medusa, punished for her truth, now turned weapon. Worse, fans started unfollowing Jackson. His follower count dropped by over 200,000 in 24 hours. #boycott VOLT started trending alongside #protect Mira. Ivy Saint's own posts were filled with snake emojis and questions. Did you know? Was this your idea? For the first time since the contract began, Jackson's name wasn't generating buzz. It was generating rage. Back on set, Jackson locked himself in his trailer. His hands trembled as he scrolled through comment after comment. You don't ghost the mother of your child and get away with it. Imagine blocking someone and then finding out she's carrying your legacy. He should be worried. Because she's not done. And she wasn't. Because Mira hadn't said a single word beyond that caption. She hadn't gone on a talk show. She hadn't done an interview. She hadn't spoken to the press. That silence was the most terrifying sound of all. It wasn't weakness. It was control. Jackson sat down hard on the edge of the trailer bed, sweating despite the air conditioning. She played me, he muttered. No, Landon corrected gently. You played her. She just hit back. The next morning, Jackson's team drafted a statement. It was vague, polished, and full of emotionally neutral language. Mr. Vane has always held deep respect for Miss Lane and wishes her well during this private time. Any insinuations otherwise are misrepresentations of a complicated, personal situation. They emailed it to his lawyer. And then deleted it. Because deep down, even they knew. No polished apology could survive what Mira Lane had just started. The contract may have ended. But the consequences. They were just beginning. Chapter 11: The Brand War. The morning after Mira's now legendary Instagram post, a war ignited, not in courtrooms, not in press conferences, but in feeds. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, every digital platform became a battlefield, and every post was a weapon. And at the center of it all, two brands. Noi versus Volt. Mira Lane versus Jackson Vane. And it wasn't just about fashion anymore. It was about who controlled the story. Volt, once the reigning monarch of luxury glamour, suddenly found itself on the defense. Their golden boy, Jackson Vane, had become toxic inventory. His face was plastered on billboards and in department store window displays, smiling, polished, perfect, while the world tore him apart online. Every campaign he fronted was now viewed through a different lens. The fatherhood forward campaign suddenly felt ironic. The modern man, grounded and loyal photo shoot was screenshotted and roasted with captions like, grounded where? Loyal to who? Hashtags erupted. Hash cancel VOLT. Hash fake man fake brand. Hash dump Volt for Noi. Hash support Mira not marketing. Meanwhile, Noi, a label once viewed as too sharp, too edgy, too avant-garde for mainstream, was winning the internet. And it was all thanks to the one woman everyone had once dismissed. Mira Lane became a symbol. An icon. A flashpoint. It wasn't just about her pregnancy. It was about what she represented. A woman discarded and disrespected who refused to stay silent. A nobody-turned visionary. A body that wasn't hidden or shamed, but displayed like armor. A pregnancy that wasn't framed as a setback, but as a comeback. And women across the globe saw themselves in her. Influencers who once collaborated with Volt posted breakup reels with dramatic montages of them dumping Volt products in trash cans, captioned, "We don't wear betrayal." Eco-activists burned Volt coats, a little ironic, considering the emissions, but it made for explosive content. Fashion TikTok exploded with Noi versus Volt breakdowns. Here's why Noi just dragged an entire empire through the ashes using a pregnant woman in a lace dress and a camera. And why I'm obsessed. Even ex-Vault models began quietly sliding into Mira's DMs. If you ever need a model. I walk fast and hate Jackson. Call me. Meanwhile, Noi's stock skyrocketed. Web traffic doubled. Their newsletter sign-up crashed the site. The lace maternity gown Mira wore sold out in 11 minutes, despite its $2,700 price tag. People weren't just buying fashion anymore. They were buying revenge. Back in the Paris studio, Mira watched it all unfold from the corner of a room filled with camera gear and champagne flutes. She sat cross-legged, robe open over her growing belly, barefaced, laughing softly at a meme Zadie had just sent her. Side-by-side photos of Jackson with the caption, "When you ghost your girlfriend and she turns into Beyoncé." Celeste leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. You broke the internet. And now you've bankrupted their credibility. Is that good? Mira asked, dryly. Celeste smirked. It's legendary. The fashion world wasn't subtle. And it wasn't loyal. Within 48 hours, the mass exodus began. Vault lost 6 influencer ambassadors. Their biggest campaign, a Valentine's rollout with Ivy Saint, was quietly paused. One of their own junior designers posted a TikTok set to Billie Eilish's "What Was I Made For," writing in the caption, "Not this." The power dynamic flipped overnight. Jackson Vane was no longer the face of reinvention. Mira Lane was. For the first time in her life, she wasn't fighting to be noticed. She was the moment. She wasn't the girl who got ghosted. She was the woman who returned with receipts and rage, and turned both into revenue. What began as heartbreak had become a global rebrand. And as the world watched this new Mira ascend, graceful, sharp, visibly pregnant, and in complete control, there was one undeniable truth. The fake girlfriend was now the real threat. Chapter 12: The Lawsuit. By the second week after Mira's post, Jackson's team had 2 options. 1. Let the PR nightmare burn itself out. 2. Throw gasoline on it. Naturally, they chose gasoline. The lawsuit hit headlines on a Thursday morning like a slap across the face. Breaking: Jackson Vane files suit against ex-stylist Mira Lane. Claims breach of NDA, contractual misconduct, and willful defamation. The press release was as cold and calculated as everything Jackson had ever done. His legal team claimed Mira's viral Instagram post was a violation of her confidentiality agreement, that her caption constituted a direct and damaging implication of paternity and misconduct, and that she had leveraged confidential knowledge of a personal partnership for clout and commercial gain. Translation: she made me look bad, and now I want her punished. Social media lost its mind. One side was outraged. The other laughed. He really sued a pregnant woman he ghosted. This man is trying to sue his way out of karma. Hope the judge follows her. In a glass-walled law firm overlooking Paris, Mira Lane sat beside her legal team, a trio of steely-eyed, mostly female attorneys who called themselves the Wolves. They didn't flinch. "You ready?" asked Sasha Patel, Mira's lead counsel. "Because we're about to take off the gloves." Mira exhaled. "He wants war. Let's go." 2 days later, Mira's team filed a response. But it wasn't just a legal defense. It was a bomb. Defendant response: counterclaim for contract violation. Within the official documents submitted to court, and, conveniently, Leaked to the press, Mira's lawyers laid it all out. Exhibit A: text messages from Jackson, time-stamped, during and after the campaign, many with flirtation, affection, and explicit acknowledgement of their sexual relationship. Exhibit B: voice notes he'd sent her while filming a dramatic scene, confessing how much she calmed him down, how she was the only person who made him feel real, and how scared he was to lose her to the fake version of himself. Exhibit C: screenshots of his missed calls after Tahoe. Dozens of them. Followed by silence. Followed by the press leak of his new love with Ivy Saint. And finally, Exhibit D: a clause from the original PR relationship contract. Both parties agree to clear, honest communication in the event of romantic development beyond the terms of the engagement. Breach of emotional good faith may constitute voiding of confidentiality. Translation: he broke the contract first. Emotionally. Physically. Repeatedly. Mira hadn't just been ghosted. She had been gaslit under signed agreement. The press devoured the documents. Tabloids got their hands on the texts. Online culture writers analyzed every word. Voice notes were played on podcasts. One particularly heart-wrenching one, where Jackson said, "I don't want to pretend anymore. You're it. You are it," trended on TikTok for days under the hashtag #ButYou'reIt. It backfired spectacularly. Volt tried to issue a no-comment statement. Ivy Saint deleted her latest sponsored post. A fashion journalist for The Cut wrote, "This isn't just about a broken contract. It's about the centuries-old playbook where powerful men use women for damage control, and expect silence after the storm." Back in LA, Jackson's legal team was panicking. He wanted to crush her. Instead, he'd accidentally provided the world with proof of everything she claimed, and worse, a window into how fully, how cruelly, he'd made her disappear. His attempt at erasing her had now immortalized her. The real twist. Mira never spoke a word to the press. Not once. Her legal team did the talking. The leaked exhibits did the detonating. And the world did the rest. The girl who was supposed to be a ghost in someone else's story had just turned the court system into her stage. And now, the next headline wasn't just about the lawsuit. It was about what she would do with this power. Because Mira Lane wasn't done. Not even close. Chapter 13: The Receipts. The world had seen the lawsuit. They had read the headlines. He said she broke the contract. She said he broke her. But nobody was ready for the receipts. The first post dropped on a Thursday evening, 6:59 p.m. Mira's time. No warning. No announcement. Just a single story posted to her now exploding Instagram. A plain white background. Black text. One line. "You want context? Fine." And below it, the first screenshot. A message from Jackson Vane. Time-stamped. 1:14 a.m., the 16th of January. Days after the Tahoe weekend. Jackson. I don't know what this is, but I can't stop thinking about you. Everything with you feels real. No cameras. Just us. Please don't disappear. That story was up for 24 hours. But it took less than 3 minutes to go viral. The next post wasn't a screenshot, it was an audio clip. A voice note from Jackson, raw, slightly slurred from what sounded like wine or something stronger. It played over soft background music, her music, the playlist Mira had made for him during filming. He'd once told her her taste was impeccable and unfairly emotional. I know I said we had to keep it light. But that. You make me feel like I'm not performing. I don't remember what it's like to feel safe. I only feel that when I'm with you. And I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose you. Asterisk. Mira captioned it simply. He said it wasn't real. He lied. The posts kept coming, each more intimate than the last. A selfie from his bed, his arm draped over her bare waist, his face buried in her shoulder. Timestamped 3:46 a.m. A video of him softly singing to her belly after their first night in Tahoe. He hadn't even known yet, but something about her laugh, the way she touched her stomach, made him call her mama as a joke. A voice message from his trailer on set, breathless. I miss you. I know I shouldn't say that. But I do. This Ivy thing is for show. You're not. You never were. A note in his handwriting, torn from his script and left under her pillow. I see you, Mira. All of you. Don't let the world shrink you back down. By the end of the week, Mira had released 11 pieces of proof. Each one dismantled the lie. He hadn't distanced himself from an unstable ex. He had pursued her. Loved her. Cried in her arms after a panic attack the night he found out he didn't get the lead in Titan Reborn. Begged her not to leave. And then he did exactly that. Talk shows stopped covering celebrities and focused on the story. Entire specials were devoted to the Mira files with journalists interviewing body language experts, stylists, former assistants. Public opinion flipped so hard and fast, it left whiplash. This isn't just a woman scorned. This is a woman erased. NYT culture. He said she was irrelevant. She has proof he said she was everything. The cut. This is what it looks like when women stop asking for belief and start bringing evidence. Oprah Daily. Back in LA, Jackson was in hiding. The production for Vault, Legacy had halted for reshoots, code for damage control. Ivy Saint's publicist released a vague statement about unforeseen emotional strain. One fashion house publicly paused its contract with Jackson pending revaluation of his alignment with brand values. His team begged him to issue a counterpost. Instead, he drank and watched Mira's stories in silence. He listened to his own voice, echoing back at him in recordings he'd forgotten, or thought she'd never kept. He saw himself, raw, vulnerable, curled against her chest, telling her he didn't know how to breathe without her. And he knew. He hadn't just lost control of the story. He'd lost her. And now the world was watching her rise with receipts he'd written with his own damn hands. Mira didn't gloat. She didn't scream. She didn't name call. She didn't post bikini shots with cryptic captions or dance around revenge. She let the truth sit there. Cold. Real. Irrefutable. He broke the contract. He broke her. Now the only thing breaking was him. Chapter 14 The Sister Betrayal. For the first time in weeks, Mira felt like she could finally breathe again. Her body was changing faster now, her belly rising higher each morning, her skin glowing with a flush of resilience and strength. She was no longer hiding. No longer trapped under the weight of a silence that didn't belong to her. The receipts had shattered the illusion. Jackson's narrative had collapsed under the weight of his own words, and Mira, standing in the aftermath, felt something that almost resembled peace. Until Clara called. The voice on the other end was shaky. Nervous. "Hey, it's me." Mira stared at her phone screen. Clara, sister. A contact she hadn't dialed in months. The last time they'd spoken was before Tahu. Before the ghosting. Before the pregnancy. They had grown up together in a 2-bedroom apartment above a nail salon in Glendale, daughters of a single mother who believed in loyalty, resilience, and good lighting. Mira had always been the quiet one, Clara, the charming fire starter. But somewhere along the way, charm had turned manipulative. Clara always knew how to spin her version of the truth. And now, that voice, the one that once talked Mira out of panic attacks, was laced with something new. Guilt. "Can we talk?" They met in a hotel cafe on the left bank. Clara wore sunglasses indoors, like the celebrity she wasn't, and hugged Mira too tightly for someone who hadn't checked in during a global meltdown. Mira said nothing. Clara stirred her espresso 3 times, even though it was already cold. Finally, she said it. "You're going to hate me." "I probably already do," Mira replied. "I didn't think it would blow up like this. I thought you were just pretending. I didn't know it was real." "What are you talking about?" And then Clara told her. 6 months ago, when Mira first started appearing beside Jackson, Clara had received a message request from someone named Lark, an assistant at Black Media PR, Roxanne Black's firm. At first, it was subtle. "We'd love some insight into Mira's background. Just to shape the story." Friendly stuff. They offered money. Then more money. Then perks, VIP event invites, influencer brand deals, access to stylists. And Clara. She took the bait. She fed them everything. Mira's living situation. Her insecurities. Her relationship timeline. Her emotional weak points. She even forwarded private texts. Screen-recorded voice memos Mira had sent in confidence. Told them when Mira was feeling anxious. When she was getting too close. She told them everything. Including the fact that Mira was late. That she'd bought a pregnancy test. That she'd left LA. Mira sat frozen. Her blood drained from her face. Her hands curled into fists around her glass. "Wait," she said slowly. "You told them I was pregnant?" Clara looked up, eyes glassy. "They said they wouldn't use it. They said it was just for context. I don't know, I thought they'd protect you. You thought the same people who erased me from every photo would protect me. I didn't know what they were going to do. I didn't know they were going to." Mira slammed her glass down. "You didn't care what they were going to do. You just wanted to be in the room." Clara flinched. Mira stood up, towering over her sister now in a way she never had before. She had always been the soft one, the fixer, the peacemaker. But not anymore. Now she was a woman betrayed by blood. "You didn't just sell me out," Mira said, voice like a blade. "You handed them the knife." The press hadn't known about her pregnancy because of a stylist tip or a leaked tabloid shot. They knew because Clara sold it to them, before Mira had even confirmed it for herself. The heartbreak Mira had felt. The shock of being blocked, ghosted, and erased. It had been engineered. And now she knew how Jackson's team had timed the Ivy Saint stunt so perfectly. How they had known exactly when to pivot. How the narrative had been weaponized. They'd had inside help. From her own family. Clara wept, her mascara smudging into her coffee. Mira didn't touch her. Didn't scream. Didn't cry. She simply picked up her coat and left. Back in her loft, Mira stared at her reflection in the floor-length mirror. There she stood, taller than the girl Clara had known. Stronger. Wiser. Done. She wasn't going to expose her sister publicly. She didn't need to. The betrayal was private. And it would stay with her forever. But Mira made herself one promise as she placed her hands on her belly and looked herself dead in the eyes. This child will never learn loyalty from anyone who sells people for scraps. Clara had given them the inside track. But Mira had turned the betrayal into a blueprint. And soon, she would burn every bridge they had ever built. And build something untouchable in its place. Because every broken heart deserves a comeback. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe for more emotional romance every week. Hit like, drop a comment, and ring the bell so you never miss a moment of betrayal, redemption, and powerful love. And don't keep the drama to yourself, share this story with someone who lives for twists just like you. Thanks for listening, and remember, sometimes the best revenge is becoming unforgettable.